And that is, I was on a Southwest Airlines flight. And if you've ever been on Southwest, you know you don't get to choose your seats. You pick them as you walk onto the plane. And I was with my wife, Tammy, and it was one of those 3 rows, which means one of us is going to have to sit next to mystery person, right? And I drew the straw that day. She wanted the window. I'm now in the middle seat, and the plane's filling up, and I've got my leg over, sending every signal. Please don't sit next to me, right? I know, isn't that real godly? But anyway.
Thanks, Pastor.
And this lady, I could hear her in the jetway, singing, laughing real loud. And I was flying from New Orleans back to Birmingham, so you can imagine.
Maybe they had been drinking.
What street she might have come off of, right? And so anyway, and so you could hear her before you could see her, and she rounded the corner, high-fived the flight attendants, high-five first row, second row, third row, and plops right down next to me. And as soon as she sat there, she said, "So, what do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm a pastor." And she goes, "Well, duh, we're all passengers." I said, "No." I said, "Like the pastor of a church." And her next line was, "I don't like Christians." Hey. Now, I knew the kind she had been raised around probably, so I decided to play along. And this is that grace part. So I said, "Yeah, me too. That's why I started my own church." And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, Christianity has a little branding problem. And there are kind of 2 versions out there. There are some that'll just, they're so mean you wouldn't want to be around them." Right. I said, "But there's a story in the book called the Bible that is beautiful." And she goes, "Really?" Well, the cart came by, and she got, and I like to say, another drink. And so she got a drink, and she put it in my face. And she goes, "What does your God think about this?" And I said, "Well, he's not thinking about that right now. He's thinking about you. And if he could ever get you, he'd probably talk to you about that later." And she said, "I've never heard anybody say that to me before." So, well, the plane landed. It was only a 40-minute flight from New Orleans to Birmingham. She was going on to Nashville. And so she stood up to let Tammy and me off. And as we were leaving, she says, "I have to have more." And I said, "Well, we broadcast to 24 locations and 21 of Alabama's prisons and correctional facilities. And I greet them at the top of the show. I look in the camera. Hello, Church of the Highlands. We're so glad that you're here today." And I greet all the locations. I said, "If you'll watch, I'll greet you." She goes, "You won't." I said, "Oh, yeah, I will."
Grant Smith, I have a couple of groups of people I want you to help me say hello to. As always, we have our off-site campuses that are watching: Auburn, Tuscaloosa, River Chase, and Greystone, and then the online audience. But on Friday, I was actually flying back from a conference from New Orleans to Birmingham, and I sat next to a lady that hadn't been to church for a long time. She said she was going to watch the 11:15 service, so I'm giving a special shout out to Tanya. I told you I'd do it. Come on, give it up, everybody. Yeah.
I actually preached one of the most truth-filled, gospel-filled, surrender your life to Jesus is the only way you have any hope. So it was way more on the truth side because I'd given her that grace side on the plane. And she emailed me the next day. "I watched the message. I get it now. I've let Christians turn me off from God." And you know what her salutation was? "I'm ready to surrender."
Beautiful.
And I called her. She left her phone number. I called her, and we prayed for her, and she gave her life to Jesus. So that's an example where neither had to be sacrificed
or watered down.
Exactly. Because I preached a very strong, because to me, the gospel in a single word, or salvation in a single word, it's the moment you give up and you let him take over. It's the word surrender.